with what you have. Not yet, but it'll get there. And do you know that we are at the top of the hour? We have, I know, right? This is flying by. But we've got our little 5-minute news break, and we'll be back. This is NPR News Break. I hope you find a little good news in there, because Lord knows we need some. And we will catch you on the flip side. Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. We are out of Birmingham, Alabama. And we will be right back.
This message comes from NPR sponsor American Express. See a big deal as no big deal with worry-free protection. See business differently with American Express. Don't do business without it. Learn more at americanexpress.com/seebusinessdifferently.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. In Northern California, the death toll in the Camp Fire now stands at 23. It's burned through 170 square miles, but firefighters are reporting some progress. Sonia Hudson of member station KQED reports the blaze is now 25% contained.
Firefighters have been able to hold containment lines well, but they did have a minor spillover of around 150 acres overnight. CAL FIRE spokesman Robert Foxworthy says some firefighters are working in really steep and rocky terrain.
It enhances some of the safety issues. It makes traveling more difficult, very limited amount of roads. So that does play a little bit of a part in our ability to fight the fire.
A red flag warning for critical fire weather conditions is in effect through Monday. For NPR News, I'm Sonia Hudson in Chico, California.
In Southern California, fire officials say the Santa Ana winds are kicking up again, and that's making the Woolsey fire near Los Angeles even more dangerous.
We need to make sure that all citizens are vigilant to making sure that they do nothing to start a new fire.
That's CAL FIRE Chief Scott Jalbert. He says thousands of firefighters are battling the blazes.
We have over 8,000 federal, state, and local firefighters on the front lines, with thousands on the ready, prepared for the next event.
There was a break in the winds, giving firefighters time to search for victims, but that is over now. Southern California fire officials are warning people to heed evacuation orders, telling them they can't stay and fight the flames themselves. And in Thousand Oaks, California, it's still mourning after last week's mass shooting at the Borderline Bar and Grill that left 12 people dead. NPR's Amy Held reports an autopsy now confirms how the gunman died.
Ian David Long died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, according to Ventura County Police, citing an autopsy report. Before he turned the gun on himself, the 28-year-old former Marine killed 12 others, many young people attending college night at the country music bar. Officials have yet to confirm a motive, but believe he targeted the venue. Sergeant Ron Helis of the Ventura County Sheriff's Office was among the first to rush in, exchanging gunfire with Long. Now, Helis's funeral is set for Thursday. It's a trying time for the community in more ways than one as area wildfires continue burning. In Malibu, Pepperdine University students were among hundreds of thousands of people forced to evacuate. Some students had fled the Borderline Bar on Wednesday, but a freshman did not make it out alive. Amy Held, NPR News.
World leaders gathered in Paris today to mark the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. As host, French President Emmanuel Macron used the occasion to sound the alarm about the fragility of peace and the dangers of nationalism. Today is also Veterans Day in the U.S. This is NPR News. Hundreds turned out at the National World War I Museum in Kansas City today, marking the centennial of the armistice. Peggy Lowe of member station KCUR has more.
Remembering that World War I ended on the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month, were soldiers from around the world, veterans of several wars, and kids in plastic doughboy hats. Bob Woolrich, an Army veteran from Kansas, says he lost two good friends in the Vietnam War.
If you lose someone in a war, whether you're serving with them or you're a parent or a sibling of someone that you lost, every day, they're with you.
President Woodrow Wilson's announcement to Congress was read. He said peace was, quote, more lasting than the selfish competitive interests of powerful states. For NPR News, I'm Peggy Lowe in Kansas City.
In China, online shoppers shattered last year's record of $24 billion in the country's annual buying frenzy today, a kind of rival to Black Friday in the U.S. E-commerce giant Alibaba took Singles' Day, an unofficial spoof holiday for those without partners, and turned it into a Cyber Sunday shopping blockbuster with deals and discounts. In the first hour, it sold around $10 billion worth of products, and Western brands like Nike, Adidas, and Mattel participated. Alibaba even put together a televised extravaganza featuring Mariah Carey. I'm Janine Herbst, NPR News in Washington.
And you are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. And I'm so glad you are. This is Fate Radio. I am Kat Hobson, your host, who apparently is struggling somewhat to talk today. But I'm so fortunate because I get to do this wonderful show with wonderful people. And this week's guest is Christopher Maggard, who has a new film, Rosa Leigh, coming out soon. And he has done all kinds of paranormal investigation, 37 years, if I'm correct on that. Am I, Chris?
Yeah.
One of 37?
38.
Yeah.
38. But what's a year?
Well, you're one of the few people I know who is actually retired from the paranormal field. I think that's cool.
Just retired this year. So.
I remember when I read that post and I was like, wow, really? And it was true. Because I'm sorry, you have had so much to offer since I started really getting involved with learning, the Facebook groups and stuff like that. I do a lot of those, but trying to decide who I wanted to learn from, who I thought would be, even if it wasn't a personal mentor, somebody that I would, study and see how they had done things. There's about 10 of you. And I learned so much. You brought so much to the field. And before we go any further, I want to say thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's just sharing what I experienced and the do's and don'ts that I learned about.
Sometimes at a price, right?
Yeah, at a price.
Well, I know that we talked about some of the don'ts. What are some of your do's?
I can tell you that some of my do's is, first off, one needs to be respectful of themselves. Definitely do that, and be honest with yourself. And paranormal investigating, to me, is not just going to an empty building that has no windows and half the floors and ceilings falling through and vines and trees growing through the broken windows. A bigger part of it is putting your nose in a book and reading and studying. And I've always told people, how can you understand the unknown if you don't even know what the known is? And the known is the human body. That's where it all starts from. So you need to read on how the human body works, how energy works, how it all plays, and how it changes when the body is not working anymore, and that energy displaces from the body. And you need to learn that. And I tell people, read books. Read. I've had people ask me, what's your favorite paranormal tool? And I'd say a library card.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because you can watch TV all day long and watch paranormal shows on TV, but you're just learning what they're doing through edits. I mean, these guys that do paranormal shows, I had one for 5 seasons. We spent 8, 12, 14 hours in one location, and some of these shows have spent 3 days on location, and you're only getting 45 minutes of that 3 days. And so it's all through editing. And You know, they're cutting down so much. So you're not really learning anything. You're learning that some people can get scared the crap out of them from something happening, but you're not learning what needs to be taught, and that's to learn how energy works and how EMF fields really doesn't affect the body.
Right.
And you know, studying that orbs are not real, because if you understand cinematography or photography, and you understand the camera, and you understand that orbs is not real, and then you've got to learn how the body works and how the mind creates energy for me to sit here and make this conversation with you and move my fingers and everything else. So people need to start reading that. And I think once people start reading more and learning the dynamics of everything that's around them, they'll have a little bit better understanding of what they're dealing with. And they might be surprised. They might be surprised in how things will be a lot different than opposed to watching a TV show and buying the next cool ghost gadget and going outside and going, is there anybody here? They might be surprised how much more exciting than what they'll learn by reading the book.
Well, it certainly makes your investigations much more exciting because you understand what is possibly happening around you instead of running down the street screaming.
Exactly.
That whole running down the street screaming thing blows my mind.
What's that?
That whole running down the street screaming. You know,
Yeah.
I don't get that. Why would you do that? Why are you not knowledgeable when you go in about what's happening, what could be causing it? You know, the whole thing is just like, why are you running? You know?
Exactly.
And leaving your stuff. Why are you running and leaving your stuff?
Right.
You know. But
Never made sense to me.
no. And you know, that's interesting what you said relevant to the orbs, because I am a photographer. So yes, I do know how orbs are created. And oh my word, if you say that they're not ghosts, there's mobs coming after you screaming like banshees, right? Yes, they are. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a skeptic. And I'm like, I am a skeptic. But I'm a skeptical believer. I know that there's other stuff out there because I've experienced it, just like you have, just like anybody who's done this for any length of time has, right? So, why do you think people are so sensitive about orbs?
I don't know. Because I can't speak for other people. I mean, I could speculate, but I don't know why. I don't know why people are so into orbs, because if you understand photography, you'll understand that orbs are created from photography, from the camera.
Mm-hmm. Or humidity, or dust mites. I mean, there's so many possibilities.
Right, and so I don't know. I mean, I don't know why people are so obsessed with it. Maybe it's a quick fix to say, yes, we have a ghost. I don't know. I can't really say why people are so obsessed with that. And I just, like, you know, I hope so. I just try to encourage them to study on photography, and there's a course that I used to tell people study on. It's called Circle of Confusion, which explains how orbs are created through photography, and it's all about the focal points, and it's a simple diagram, and all people got to do is read it and understand it, and once you look at the diagram, it's just like, well, okay, that makes complete sense. But I think people are afraid to be dismissed from, oh my God, so I was wrong about orbs the whole time, and so now what? Now what do I go for? You know, but it's a learning curve. I mean, everybody needs to learn, and it's okay to be wrong in the paranormal field, because no one knows the right answer yet. But you got to be logical about everything too.
You know, we have a conversation going